Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am Zonia, and this is episode 5 of Hot Girl Hygiene. Today I want to talk about hygiene tips for hot, sweaty weather. This video is set to go live on June 19th, meaning tomorrow, June 20th, is the first day of summer for 2026. And lately I've been sharing a lot of videos with summer prep, things to know before summer, things to know going into the summer. I've been doing a little bit of a countdown in short form, and I've been sharing so much in the appearance, texture, and general fragrance of the skin. But it's time to get serious because that summer heat is really starting to settle in, and I feel like it's the perfect time to share the crucial and critical hygiene tips, habits, routines, things to know going into the summer season and preparing ourselves for this sweaty, hot, humid weather. If this is your first time watching this series, I would definitely recommend catching up on all of the prior videos, episode 1 through 4, just to pick up all the tips that have been shared with general skin tips, general hygiene tips, because from this video moving on forward to the remaining 13 episodes, everything is going to be super focused and just super heavy on summer, hot weather, warm weather, just all things summer pertaining to body care and hygiene. And I of course do share so much regarding this as well in short form, and even in this video, if I do have any short form videos that go hand in hand with what I'm explaining, it can give you a better visual. I will play my short form videos on screen. For all of my other short form content, I am Zonia on every platform, and I do post every single day. I do have mini series and other routines, tips, product recommendations, and things similar in all of my short form platforms. So definitely join those communities if you're interested or want to learn more things similar. But as you have all heard me say so many times, and I will continue to say over and over, I'm not one for long intros, so let's get right into this video. So per usual, we have our assistant, and as I always do in these videos, I am going to break this all down into sections, and the sections are always broken down into chapters that you can access if you want to skip over a chapter or watch one chapter before another, have a better understanding of the general section that you're in. For this video, I did break down 10 different sections, and before going into this video, I want to do a brief overview of those sections. For section 1, we have a double cleansing in the shower. For section 2, we have a chemical exfoliation for skin's clarity. For section 3, we have keeping the skin's moisture barrier intact. For section 4, we have hair hygiene and scalp health. For section 5, we have knowing your deodorant. For section 6, we have attending to your downstairs. For section 7, we have foot care. For section 8, we have knowing your pulse points. For section 9, we have controlling sweaty skin. And for the last section, section 10, we have fighting off sweat-induced acne. Now if you've been here for some time, you've watched my other YouTube videos, whether they're part of this series or just other videos that I have up, or my short form videos. Some of those topics I've definitely dove deep into in the past, have shared multiple different angles and factors on pertaining to those sections, but I still feel like they're super important to keep in this set video if you want a full general guideline for maintaining your skin's hygiene in sweaty weather. So again, if you have heard of any of these before, if you've been here to learn about any of these from me, you can use this really as a test of your knowledge or just to be a simple reminder. If not, definitely use this to expand your knowledge and be more intentional with your skin and hygiene. So definitely settle in. I do plan for this to be a pretty lengthy video. I want to give so many tips and share so much regarding all of these topics. So definitely get comfortable as we dive into the first section, which is double cleansing in the shower. So starting off with section 1, a double cleansing in the shower, I felt like it was super important to start this in the base of your hygiene and body care, which is your shower routine. I've definitely mentioned double cleansing so many times. I feel like it's definitely a really crucial part of your body care. If you're not going about your shower routine in the right way, if you don't have a proper strategy, you're not really intentional in the shower with your products, the order of your products, how you're using them, how you're layering them, what tools you're using, what products you're combining, what you're using on what days. If you're not super intentional and really strategic in that routine, everything that you do outside of the shower will either not be effective or just not give you the results that you're looking for. I definitely feel like double cleansing is the base of everything, whether you're focusing on the texture of your skin, the appearance of your skin, the odor and fragrance of your skin, if you have marks, if you have any conditions or concerns on the skin that you're trying to treat or heal. Everything comes down to your base. I use various soaps in the shower. I use different routines on different days, and I do have a few different reasonings. I am very intentional with certain things like strawberry skin, on my legs. I'm not one to really deal with odor, and I don't get my fragrance from the shower, so it's not a big priority for me while I'm in the shower. But at the same time, I have struggled in the past with body acne on my back, and there can always be a number of things that you're either worrying about, wanting to prevent, or wanting to treat in the shower. So while I do have videos up about this, I have videos up on soap recommendations. Previous episodes in this series will also give you advice, tips, and help you build strategic routines for the shower. But in this video, I really just want to do a brief overview and an idea of how to know how to double cleanse in the shower. So your first layer of cleansing in the shower should always be to get every single thing off of your skin, all of the excess and built up oil, grime, dirt, bacteria, and in the summertime, products, which of course can be your body lotions, things like that, but most importantly, your sunscreen. It is very important to use sunscreen in the summer. So when you are coming around to showering, some sunscreens can be really thick or really tacky, and you definitely want to make sure that when you're showering, you're getting all of that off of the skin. Your first layer cleanse should always be an unfragranced soap, a soap that's formulated to simply cleanse off your skin. I always say my biggest recommendation for an unfragranced wash is the Dr. Bronner's Baby Unscented. I've used this for so long. A few weeks back, I did run a little experiment where I wasn't using it, trying to see if I can replace it with other soaps, and it didn't work. I just ended up coming right back to this soap. This is a great wash for your first cleanse in the shower to get everything off, no matter what you're wearing. And it's not gonna disrupt your skin, it's not gonna irritate your skin, and it's not gonna do anything but cleanse your skin. You can also go in with a more gentle option. The Ivory Unfragrant soap is another option. This is not as strong of a soap. It's not gonna give you as deep of a clean as a Castile soap would, but it's still gonna be a great cleanse, especially if you have really sensitive, delicate skin, or if you're struggling with really dry skin, because this soap can be a little drying, and especially if you're not following it with a hydrating soap after. So if you're dealing with something like eczema, I feel like this is a really good choice. If you're dealing with body acne, odor, oily skin, an antibacterial soap is perfect. I personally don't use these, so I don't have many examples, but one example that I do have is the Dial Gold antibacterial bar soap. You can of course use this. You can use the Dove antibacterial bar soap. You can use antibacterial liquid soaps. Those soaps are better for someone that's dealing with any excess oil on the skin that's either causing them to have a really oily skin, of course, or body acne or odor. If you're dealing with odor, that's from bacteria built up on the skin. That is where your odor is coming from. So using a soap like this for your first cleanse will help you really get all of that off. But these again can also be really drying, especially if you're not following them with a hydrating soap. I would honestly say that if you're not dealing with either of those three things and you have dry skin, avoid antibacterial soaps altogether. You won't benefit from them. You'll see more disadvantages than benefits from using it, and it's just not something that's really necessary for you or crucial. You can use any other unfragrant soap. Now, you can use as many layers as you like in the shower. Obviously, don't overdo it. I personally use 3, sometimes 4, depending on the day, but that's because not only am I using treatment soaps, but I'm also using hydrating soaps and sealing soaps. So if you only want to use 2 layers, of course your first needs to be the one that I just mentioned. Your second layer can either be for treatment or moisture or hydration. An example of the treatment soap that I use is the Perfector Salicylic Acid Wash by Naturium. This is a BHA wash. BHAs are chemical exfoliants that go into your pores. They go under the surface of the skin. So this is a great soap for someone dealing with strawberry skin where they need the pores cleared and refined, for someone dealing with oily skin, for someone dealing with body acne. This is a great option. This is a treatment soap for any issues underneath the surface of your skin. The brand Naturium also has one called the Smoother, which is their glycolic acid soap. That is an AHA, more for surface level things. If you're wanting to refine the surface of your skin, you're wanting to smoothen out bumps like KP or rough skin, or if you're dealing with dark spots, hyperpigmentation, where you're wanting to kind of speed up your cell turnover. Then one soap that I wouldn't say is too much of a treatment, but it is a skin rebuilding soap, is also from Naturium. This is the Multi-Peptide Advanced Wash. This soap contains peptides, and the formula of this is meant to rebuild and strengthen the skin. This is great to follow a treatment soap with, or just a regular soap if you're doing treatments outside of the shower, and in the shower you want to use that time to rebuild the skin, strengthen the skin, toughen up your moisture barrier, your skin barrier. That's a great option. If you're just wanting hydration, something like an unfragranced or a fragrance wash like the Ivory. You can also use the Methods body washes. I've used those in the past. I no longer use any fragrance soaps in the shower, but if I wanted to, I would choose the Method brand. Very gentle, very clean, non-irritating, and their fragrances are very, very good. So that's more of like a fragrance thing. When I go back to the Ivory soap, this soap is very hydrating. It's very silky. It's meant to leave a film of moisture over the skin, which is wonderful for adding that moisture back into your skin, the same as an oil wash or an oil body wash like the Naturium Glow Getter. These soaps are meant to kind of hydrate the skin by leaving a thick film of moisture over it so that you're not really rinsing off the moisture after you add it onto your skin. Now, I know that was a lot to explain. Again, I do have a video that's better at breaking down this sort of thing, kind of building a routine for your layering in the shower. But again, you're always gonna want to double cleanse using one layer to really cleanse off and clean up the skin, and then one following to either treat the skin or rebuild moisture and strength back into the skin. Again, when I come back to that first layer of soaps, these either unfragranced, really, I wouldn't say harsh, but stronger soaps like the Castile soap from Dr. Bronner's, or Dial's antibacterial soaps. If you are choosing to use either of them, please know that they can be very drying on the skin. So if you're not following them with a hydrating soap or a soap meant to bring moisture into the skin, it doesn't really matter what you do outside of the shower, because when you're in the shower, your pores are open, you're in the humidity, your skin is going to be the most receptive, and the products you're using in the shower are going to have the most effect on your skin. So if you're not taking care of that while you're in the shower, you're not going to have the most hydrated or moisturized skin outside of the shower, regardless of what you're putting on. And if you do make that mistake, the skin knows when it's dehydrated, and its instant reaction is to overproduce oil to rehydrate itself, which can lead to so many negative things. It can lead to body acne, it can lead to odor, it can lead to other products just not working well. It can lead to so many negative factors that are completely avoidable if you just prioritize moisturizing your skin after using these soaps. Again, that can be done with pretty much any soap that I mentioned here, apart from this salicylic acid soap, which can also be very drying. So if you are choosing to use any chemical exfoliant based washes in the shower, I'll show you my example of my routine on the day that I'm using my treatment soap. So I'll go in first with Dr. Bronner's to cleanse my skin, get everything off, kind of prep my base for everything else, and really refresh my skin. Then I follow up with the salicylic acid wash, and so it'll be the most receptive with fresh, clean skin, and it can really dive into my pores more effectively. Once I have gotten that on, sat for a little bit, rinsed it off, I follow with the multi-peptide soap to rebuild the skin. On days where I'm using chemical exfoliants, my main priority is to strengthen and rebuild the skin again, because I know how sensitive the skin can become when you're using these. Once I'm done with that, I will seal in the moisture that I gained from the multi-peptide soap with this, and of course adding a little bit more of moisture by using the Glow Getter oil wash, and that makes sure that my skin is clean, it's treated, and then rehydrated, re-moisturized, and rebuilt. Now that's everything for this section. Let's go on to section 2 and talk about chemical exfoliation for your skin's clarity. Now in the summertime, when the skin is more exposed, you want to show your skin more, you want to have healthier skin. To really attain and maintain that healthy skin, you need to avoid clogged pores and rough texture. Those are two different issues, one being caused underneath the skin, the other one being caused above the skin. This is where chemical exfoliants really come into play. There really is no other ingredients or products that you can use to refine the skin in this way. So for chemical exfoliants, you have two options. You have AHAs, which I always say use the A in AHA to stand for above, and BHA, use the B in BHA to stand for below. A good example of a very common and easily acquired AHA is glycolic acid. I choose to use my glycolic acid outside of the shower rather than in the shower, so I don't have any washes, but I do have this toner from The Ordinary, and I'm using this and all chemical exfoliants only 2 to 3 times a week. You can either use this as a toner on its own onto cotton pads, applying it to the skin, or you can add it into a little spray bottle and kind of spray it onto the skin instead, whichever way is more ideal and effective for you. This is really best if you're trying to reach like your back. And what glycolic acid or AHAs are going to do is work on the surface of your skin, whether you're wanting to refine the texture, kind of smoothing your skin out, or you're wanting to refine the appearance and the tone of your skin, whether you just want a more even tone or a healthier look to the skin, or if you're dealing with dark spots, hyperpigmentation on your underarms, your inner thighs, your back. Being consistent with these is gonna help speed up cell turnover to help the new skin come more to the surface and rebuild a little bit faster than it would naturally. Now with BHAs, these are below the surface. A great example of this would be salicylic acid. I do use this in the shower as a wash, and then I do also use it outside of the shower. I'm currently using this spray by Naturium. Not the strongest option, but it works well for me, especially considering that I already have an in-shower use. I don't really even need the second one, but I really am trying to avoid and prevent strawberry skin, so I'm kind of being much more intentional in using my salicylic acid over my glycolic acid. Salicylic acid, or BHAs, are meant to go into your pores and clear them out. They're exfoliants for the pores of your skin. This will help if you have strawberry skin, body acne, or anything that's making the appearance of your skin from underneath either bumpy or just not look the way that you want for it to. Especially in the summertime, all of the concerns that I mentioned that you're wanting to treat with either AHAs or BHAs will come mostly from humidity or light damage, sun damage, things that are much more common in the summertime and when your skin is more exposed. Humidity is what's supporting those dead skin cells and the glue holding those dead skin cells either to your surface of your skin or the pores in your skin. Chemical exfoliants are made to dissolve and remove that glue so that those dead skin cells, whether they're on the surface of your skin or inside of your skin, can pretty much come off of your skin. Chemical exfoliants will in essence clear out all of that debris that if not would become rough patches or body acne. But one thing that I do always note with these is that chemical exfoliants will make your skin more sensitive to light. Again, I do have another video that will go more into depth, kind of explain that better, but to kind of summarize it really quickly, they in essence are shedding a layer of your skin. Whether that layer of your skin was dead and built up or not, it was still in a way kind of shielding your skin off, kind of blocking a lot of damage. Once your skin has kind of been cleared of that, it's a bit more vulnerable, it's a bit more open, it's going to be much more receptive and much more easier for light and UV to penetrate. So when you do have chemical exfoliants active in your routine, whether you're using them in the shower or out of the shower, always keep SPF active in your routine as well. It should really be active in general during the summertime. It can be any SPF of your choice that your skin has shown to react well to and to be effective in your skin. I have a few options. On days where I'll be more in direct sun, more outside, I want a stronger, more protective SPF. I'll use my Banana Boat spray. This is SPF 100, so this is a really strong shield. Again, this is for days that I'm more out in the sun. For typical days, normal days, whether I'm gonna be indoors or not, it's still important to wear SPF regardless. And I'll use this Vacation Classic Whip SPF 50. And I just started using this and my skin is taking it very well. It's doing a pretty good job. So I would definitely recommend both of those. Obviously, they are meant for two different things. And it's always good to have options depending on your activity level that day, your environment, or even the clothing that you're wearing. So definitely keep that in mind. And just to clarify, chemical exfoliants, again, whether you're using them in or out of the shower, these are meant for long-term use. These are very strategic uses for your skin's clarity. They're not a one-time fix. Don't expect to use them once and either resolve the problem or see an immediate change. Not even in a week or days time. The skin takes a very long time to recover itself, rebuild itself, and renew itself. So these ingredients can be working in your skin, but it may not be visible to you or others for days or even weeks. As long as you remain consistent and you're being very intentional and responsible when you're using them, they will work. But don't expect a quick fix. Don't expect for this to be like an overnight change. It will take time, but it absolutely will be worth it. Now that's everything for this section. Let's go into section 3 and talk about one of the most crucial things in any season, and that is keeping the skin's moisture barrier intact. So as we know, in the summertime, it's much hotter, it's much more humid, and you're sweating more. Now, I have heard there's a myth that during the summertime, because it's so warm outside and because your skin is going to be moist from either humidity or sweat, you're not needing to wear lotion or any creams. I'm here to completely debunk that. Lotions and creams are meant for more than just making your skin look or appear more wet. They are very crucial in keeping the skin hydrated, strong, and built up. There are a number of negative things that can come out from dehydrated skin. If you are in an area where there's more heat or there's more humidity, you're not comfortable with the heavy moisture feeling, you can definitely use lightweight options. I would say like lightweight water-based lotions are perfect because once they absorb into your skin, you won't really feel like you're wearing them anymore. And if you're doing a really good job at hydrating your skin in the shower, those lightweight water-based lotions can really take you a long way. They'll still support the skin barrier and keep that moisture barrier intact without you feeling heavy or sticky. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to keep your skin hydrated because if not, it will overproduce oil to hydrate itself, and overproduced oil on the skin combined with heat and humidity is going to lead to horrible body acne and horrible odor, which are two things that you really want to avoid. Obviously, in general at all times, but especially during the summertime. Sweaty skin is not moisturized or hydrated skin. If anything, it does the opposite. Sweat does contain a good amount of salt, and sweat will dry your skin out. It will also add bacteria to the skin, which again can lead to odor and body acne. If you are dealing with sweaty or oily skin, apart from antibacterial soaps, you can also find moisturizers that are based in hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is very hydrating, and it's going to do a really good job at giving your skin the water and hydration that it needs so that it doesn't produce those oils. You're kind of going to replace that oil production by already kind of being on it with the hyaluronic acid. There's various products you can use for this, whether you want to use a body lotion or a body butter. You can also use serums, and hyaluronic acid and moisturizers, serums, and body butters based in it will absorb almost instantly, so you're not going to feel tacky, you're not going to feel sticky. If you're not dealing with that and you want other options, in my opinion, any body butter, cream, lotion that is based in a glycerin or has ceramides, fatty acids, or peptides is going to do a really good job. I've gotten to a point where I only use products that are based in or contain those ingredients because those are key at really having an effective moisturizer, really properly hydrating the skin, especially when you're applying these moisture products fresh out of the shower onto a damp skin, whether you're not drying off your skin and just putting it onto your wet skin, or me, I personally don't like feeling entirely wet, so I do dry off my skin, but I do rehydrate it with a misting bottle. This is the bottle that I use. I just mist over my skin where I'm about to moisturize, and once I get it wet and damp again, I go right in with my moisturizer. In the daytime, I am one to use more lotions, but in the evening, I always use body butters, and I always layer body essences underneath. The one that I'm currently using is this Cyclar Ceramide Milky Essence. I also have a few other body toners that I haven't gotten around to using yet because I'm gonna wait till I'm done with this, of course. But these are also a great option. If you can handle that extra layer of moisture, using these underneath is not only going to help with the longevity of your moisturizer by helping it stick to the skin, but it's also going to be an extra layer of moisture to help ensure that you have the softest, smoothest, silkiest skin. And not only that, but with this smoothing your skin so much, any oils or shimmers that you put on your skin are going to literally look perfect because they're being put on skin that, in essence, the texture is like glass. So once you're putting that product on top, since using these, I've never ever seen my skin glow and be just as glassy and reflective and silky as it has been. Like, once I discovered using these milky essences and toners in the skin before moisturizing, I will never go back. You want to keep your skin barrier and your moisture barrier strong and resilient against any environment, whether the environment is heat and humidity or even being inside in really harsh air conditioning, really direct air. Because don't get me wrong, I know that when it gets hot outside, every indoor location, whether it's a home or a business, turns that AC up very high. In the car, you have a little vent blowing at you very high, so that can be just as damaging as that intense heat and humidity onto the skin, especially if your skin barrier is not strong and built up enough and your moisture barrier is not intact and fully built up. Again, prioritize using ingredients with glycerin, ceramides, fatty acids, and peptides. Those are going to be your best friends for really keeping that moisture barrier strong and intact and keeping your skin barrier built up to really fight against anything and hold onto all the hydration products you're adding onto the skin. Now that's all for section 3. Let's go to section 4 and go into a topic that I don't really share too often, but I just have to because it can definitely be really crucial during the summertime. Let's talk about hair hygiene and scalp health. So in the summertime, as we've said 1,000 times, it's very hot, it's very humid, especially if you're living in an area that's really intense in those factors. This is the season where we're having our hair up a lot, whether you're putting it in a bun, in a ponytail, whatever it takes to have your hair up, especially for my girls with curly, big, really frizzy hair. You're gonna be using gel, you're gonna be using hairspray, you're gonna be using products that are going to build up on your scalp. They're gonna build up in your hair follicles, they're gonna build up on these strands of your hair. Not only that, but for my girls that do have a beach near them, they're going into the beach water, getting sand in their hair, girls that are going to the pool, they're getting that chlorine in their hair where they're constantly needing to wash their hair and get some sort of hydration and moisture back into the hair. There's so many things to keep in mind. I feel like hair is a little bit more difficult in the summertime. I would honestly argue that hair is more difficult in the summertime than in the winter time, and that's coming from a girl with very curly, frizzy, wild Caribbean hair. I would argue that in the summertime it's more difficult to maintain and keep this hair healthy and clean than in the wintertime. In the wintertime, all you have to worry about is your hair being dried out and you got to use more products to kind of keep it moisturized. Dealing with that, in my opinion, is so much easier than dealing with dirty, oily, sweaty, built up hair, because I'm constantly putting it up every day because I cannot survive with my hair down in covering my neck area and just suffocating me pretty much. The natural oil in your hair can do the same as your skin. It will feel kind of dehydrated, dried out. The heat will kind of make it feel much more dry, and it will also overproduce oil in the scalp the same way that your skin would do anywhere else. For this, products like clarifying scrubs or clarifying washes are really good to use once a week. If you're not one to use those, another thing that I would say is pretty important is oiling the hair. I only do this once a week. I know some people do it more than once a week. Some people oil their hair every day. My hair can't take that much weight, so I stick to an oil treatment once a week. But using oils in your hair will help with the longevity of the moisture in your hair better than just using a product every single day. Using an oil will kind of sit in your scalp for longer, and it will again keep the scalp from overproducing other oils to moisturize and hydrate itself. It's also very important to clean your hairbrushes routinely. Again, this goes back to my point in using lots of gels and hairsprays. Personally, I kind of gel my hair down every day, and even when I do put the gel on, I will run against the hair again with a brush to kind of get everything flat. So that's gel buildup and whatever else I have in my hair building up in the comb. When I do straight hairstyles, I kind of do this thing where I spray hairspray onto the brush and then brush my hair to kind of keep the frizz away, which is great for the appearance, but there's still now hairspray sitting on that brush. Even after washing your hair, if you do apply products and then kind of comb through the hair, I have seen people do that as well. I personally do a routine with my hair every night to keep it moisturized, and after applying everything, I will brush back the hair to kind of braid it. All those products are sitting in that brush right now as we speak because I did my routine last night. Haven't washed my brush since last night. So keeping your brushes clean is super important. In the summertime, I would clean them more often, only because not only is the product buildup there, but also the sweat and oil buildup from, again, being outside in the humidity and the heat. Your hair is going to build up a bit more than just product buildup on your scalp. There's gonna be that oil buildup, that sweat buildup that does harden up a little bit. So let's say in the past you were to kind of clean and wash your brushes once a month. I would do every 2 weeks, so you're doing like twice a month cleans. It's not really hard to wash brushes. I use like baking soda. I think it's really effective. I'm pretty sure there's a million different things that you can use. I know it can be a little tricky because some things that you mix can kind of cancel each other out. So I would recommend that you research it based on the products that you use in your hair to make sure that you're not like contaminating any of the products you use in your hair after cleaning the brushes. Just throw that out there. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the other buildups, but you can also build up dead skin, of course, in your scalp the same way you can on your skin. So it's also important to get the dead skin off of your brushes as well, and not kind of like wash your hair and then transfer all that buildup back into your hair the following day or the following evening. Now also, in me saying that this is time where our hair is more tied up, it's more slicked back, you also want to avoid any heat-induced irritation or any stress to the hair and the scalp. You want to give your scalp time to breathe as well. So it's also important to do either protective styles or more loose styles as well. The way that I do that is when I know I'm going to be outside and I want my hair to stay tame, I will do like the actual styled sleek hairstyles. But when I'm home and I really have no reason to have my hair like that, I will do more loose styles so that my hair has that time to breathe. I mean, my scalp has that time to breathe, especially because I'm not really needing to style it so much. I will take advantage of those windows of time, leave my hair loose, have it more breathable. After working out, it's also important to keep the hair clean. If you have like a really intense workout where you're like really outside, like your hair is literally wet from how much you were sweating, it's really important to then wash your hair. Even if it's out of your routine, let's say you wash your hair on Wednesdays and Sundays or just Sundays, but you had a really intense workout on Tuesday and your hair is literally wet from how sweaty it is, wash your hair on Tuesday. You really want to neutralize and really get off that sweat before it hardens and dries onto the scalp, because that will only clog your hair follicles, and those are in essence like pores. Once those pores are clogged, of course it'll appear as buildup, but that can cause odor, that can cause irritation, your scalp can get really itchy. So many things can come from clogged hair follicles, so you want to avoid that really anywhere on the skin, but of course in regards to this section on your scalp and in your hair. Now that's everything for section 4. Let's go on to section 5 and talk about knowing your deodorant. It is starting to get a little warm in here actually. So in the summertime, we all know deodorant is crucial, honestly. And I feel like in the summertime is when a lot of like memes come out about deodorant, like the whole aluminum free deodorant thing. I don't really partake in those memes because aluminum free deodorant does work for some people, and there's not one deodorant on earth that will work for every single person. Like it doesn't work like that. Even me personally, I use 2 deodorants. I use one deodorant in the daytime, one deodorant in the nighttime. In the daytime, my Holy Grail deodorant is Degree Black and White. I prefer to use this in the daytime because it is a bit thick and I don't like for that area to build up with deodorant. This is also really, really good for me with managing any odor or sweat, kind of like really neutralizing my underarms. But as I mentioned earlier, this is a pretty thick deodorant. So in the evening, I like to avoid any buildup and give my underarms some time to breathe. But of course, I still want to neutralize any odor, keep the area fresh. So I use liquid deodorants. This is an herbal deodorant by the brand House of Balance. And it's like a liquid roll-on deodorant. I have found that system works for me. I don't experience odor at all. My underarms literally never smell like anything. Like, and honestly, I'd rather them smell like nothing than deodorant, because of course once the deodorant scent wears off, there's a question of is it gonna smell like nothing or is it gonna smell bad? Personally, when my deodorant wears off, because of the little system that I built and the soaps that I use in the shower, once that deodorant fragrance is off my skin, it literally never smells like anything. It literally just smells like air. But of course, as I mentioned, that works for me. If you are dealing with odor or really sweaty underarms, of course there are better options, but one thing I would recommend is using clinical antiperspirants at night, like overnight on the underarms. Overnight while you're sleeping, your sweat glands are less active, so when you're applying that deodorant, it's gonna have more time to really sit and settle into the skin instead of wearing off with either friction or sweat. So the next day you're gonna have a much more of a protection because it's had so much time to sit there that it's practically like it's kind of stuck there. There wasn't really any opportunity for it to be rubbed off or for it to kind of evaporate. I would definitely say that's a better choice than using it in the daytime, like putting it on and then getting right active into moving around, where you're either using friction, it's rubbing off or kind of breaking apart, or you're sweating and it's evaporating or running off the skin. So that's a little hack if you are one that's struggling with odor or excess sweat down there and you don't think the breathable deodorant at night is better for you. If you aren't struggling with those and you do just want to kind of keep the area neutralized, liquid deodorants are the way to go, just to keep the area fresh but also to allow time for your underarms to breathe, kind of have some airflow. Using those clinical strength deodorants at night will also allow the active ingredients to penetrate better, to be more effective. So the next day you can literally apply like a regular deodorant. You don't have to reapply the strong clinical deodorant, and your underarms will still stay fresh and neutral. If you do have sensitive skin and you are prone to any irritation or anything like that, definitely choose liquid deodorants or fragrance-free or aluminum-free deodorants. These are much more gentle formulas, much softer, less kind of built up formulas, to where there's not too many ingredients on there that are going to give your skin some sort of irritation or reaction. You really want to avoid inflammation in your underarms as well. I feel like it's very uncomfortable for one, but also you're kind of limiting yourself from keeping the area fresh because you're having to now treat the skin. That's why I've mentioned so many times in previous videos, never get products that are specially made for concerns that you don't have. Example, if you don't deal with sweat and you're not struggling with like super excessive sweat in your underarms, don't get a deodorant that's made for sweat control. If you don't deal with odor in your underarms, don't get a deodorant that's made for odor control. Like, if you don't deal with dry skin, don't get a moisturizer or a wash that's meant for dry skin, because those all have added ingredients to them to help with that concern, with that issue, with that condition. And you using it, it's like you're kind of adding that chemical or ingredient onto your skin unnecessarily. You're not going to gain anything from it. If anything, it's going to only irritate or inflame your skin, especially if you have sensitive skin. That's when you need to be really careful and very selective with your products. Now, speaking of being very careful and selective with your products, let's go on to section 6 and talk about understanding your downstairs better. So this section, of course, is for my girls. If you happen to be a man watching this, but this area is very delicate, very sensitive, and it can be extremely reactive. You have to be really intentional when you're attending to your feminine area and when you're working with it. I would definitely say it's a very simple area in the body to understand, but any slight mistake can leave lots of gaps for error. So it's very important to know as much as you can. You never want to overcomplicate your hygiene in this area, either on a day-to-day basis or while you're on your cycle. For one, that organ is self-cleaning. It does kind of do lots of the work on its own. It does kind of cleanse and detox itself on its own, which is why things like discharge exist. But it's also important to give it a little bit of a helping hand day to day, just to make sure that everything is really off of the area and the area is as fresh and clean as it can be. But in doing this, you don't want to disrupt the area's natural function or chemicals. So the biggest and most simplest thing to know is that nothing fragrance needs to be in the area at all, not even in proximity, even in the bikini line. There should never ever be a single thing that is fragrance anywhere near the area or your bikini line. All of those scrubs and fragrance soaps should not be used to exfoliate your bikini area. And as I've mentioned before, using a pink pineapple surprise soap will not allow for your area to smell like pink pineapple surprise. You want to use only unfragranced, clean, pure soaps. There also exist vaginal washes. This is the vaginal wash of my preference. This is PhD's boric acid wash. This is a foam cleanser. I've tried the other brand, I don't remember what it's called, the other feminine wash brand. I don't remember the name of Honey Pot. I think it's something like that. No. This is a very clean, direct soap, but again, with using any feminine wash, you are not going to use this every single day whatsoever. You're only going to use this when it's really, really needed, and you're not going to use this during your cycle. When your cycle is going on, there's already enough going on down there. There's already enough detoxing and cleansing and regurgitating going on. No, you don't want to use anything at all during your cycle. Now, on the day that your cycle has ended or the day after, that is definitely a great time to go in with the soap. That is what I choose to do. This is also great for days that you're sweating a lot. You need that extra cleanse down there, or after adult time. Also fairly important to use this soap, but again, you don't want to overuse this. Using a simple unfragranced wash every day works wonderful. On a day-to-day basis, I will use my regular basic unfragranced wash in the shower, whether I'm using Dr. Bronner's that day or Ivory Unfragrance. Both of those have done a really good job at keeping me fresh and clean down there. Never any irritation, never any burning, and never any odor whatsoever. Now, while cleansing it is one thing, so is avoiding moisture buildup. It is very, very important to avoid not letting the area breathe, whether that is regarding your underwear. Honestly, the only proper material to ever have in an underwear is cotton. Cotton is very breathable, it's very non-irritating. Wearing thongs or tight underwear 24/7, no. Wearing super tight clothes and pants 24/7, no. Wearing any underwear that's so thin it goes like into, no. During your period, I made a whole video about period hygiene and things like that, and in that video I was stressing how important cotton underwear is during your cycle. There is literally no other option. Like, during your cycle, I would say there is no other possible choice in underwear but cotton underwear for so many reasons. But to prevent that moisture buildup in the area, that if you do allow moisture to build up in the area, regardless of where the source of the moisture is from, especially if it's from something like sweat, or you decided to be an adult and let it sit there until the night of the next day, that is awful. Like, that will cause so much irritation and such an odor. Not only that, but if you do bring an infection to that area, it's going to affect you in more than just that area. It's already going to be uncomfortable. It's already going to be an odor. Going outside in the sun and sweating on that infection is going to give you a number of issues in that area itself, but also in other parts of your body. You really, really, really want to avoid any possible irritation or bacteria in that area. And if you are one to work out and sweat a lot and you wear like really tight leggings or shorts to the gym, the moment you have the opportunity to wash yourself down there, take it. Don't let that sit there for too long. Just when on your cycle, this is obviously a given in any time, but obviously so much more in hot, sweaty weather when you're going to be sweating down there. Change out your products, whether you're using pads or tampons. Change them out routinely, like habitually. Like, if you have to change it out every hour, every 2 hours, change it out every hour, every 2 hours. You don't want to allow that, I wouldn't say blood, because so much more exits your body than just blood, but all of the fluid, all of those toxins that leave your body, once they leave your body, the moment that they escape and they sit onto that pad or get soaked by that tampon, they are bacteria. They're waste. They are waste. Gross bacteria that you do not want to allow to remain in contact with that area. It's already kind of dangerous enough for that to happen, but now when you're adding sweat onto that, humidity, heat, is only getting 10 times worse. You're only amplifying the harmful properties of those toxins. And again, on a daily basis, you're going to want to keep the area cleansed and in its natural state, so you're only to be using unfragranced, simple, clean soaps. Now let's go on to the next section, which is section 7, and talk about one thing I feel like is really for the girls. I feel like I share so much on. I had to leave a section about it in this video. Let's go ahead and talk about foot care. So if you've watched my previous videos, whether they're here or on other platforms, you know that I share a lot about foot care, foot hygiene, legs, just the appearance and the general hygiene and wellness of your feet. And that is so much more important in the summertime when your feet are more exposed. We're more in heels, more in sandals. You're either at the beach or pool where you're really possibly wearing nothing on your feet, and it's also very hot. If you are to wear shoes, there's a lot of heat being trapped into those shoes with how hot and sweaty the atmosphere is outside. And I think I want to talk about that first, summer heat and closed shoes. That is really just a bacteria and moisture buildup. Now, if you are dealing with odor or swelling in your feet, you're definitely going to want to do soaks. I know that ingredients that are really, really well for bringing down all of the swelling and for kind of neutralizing that odor is Epsom salt and peppermint. That is a good way to soak. I don't really deal with any major issues with my feet, but I think that's because of my maintenance. I feel like I'm really on top of my foot care maintenance. If you're wanting to keep your feet more smooth and hydrated, of course you can use moisture products, but I feel like the most important ingredient for your feet, specifically for how thick and hard the skin is, especially if you have calluses, is a urea. You can use urea creams that are like 40%, or if you kind of want to maintain that soft skin and kind of avoid any buildup or harsh skin or calluses, but you don't really struggle with them, you can use like urea body serums or just lighter concentrations of urea. You don't have to use 40% all the time. I personally have really soft feet and I only use urea body serum. I think the percentage on it is 5 or 10. If you do deal with really sweaty feet, dusting powder is also good. You want to keep your feet dry, because once you go out and sweat and you're wearing those closed shoes, the moisture is already going to build up on its own. You don't want moisture to build up on already kind of wet, sweaty feet. You're kind of, again, only amplifying it to be a little worse. So keeping your feet dusted using dusting powder or just regular baby powder can be really good for that. I would say that it's really important to have an active foot care routine. I do a foot care routine every single night. It's definitely changed over the last seasons, but I think the one I have now is really set for the summer. I go in first with a pumice stone to get off any buildup and kind of smoothen out the surface. Then I mist the skin to make sure that the serum I'm going to use next is better absorbed and more effective. I do use this, yes, it was 5%, this 5% urea serum from Naturium. And before this, I was just using whatever body butter or body cream I use on my body that day to keep everything uniform. But since starting using this, I've realized my feet have definitely gotten much smoother. So I will be staying to that. Then I feel like another really important ingredient for your feet is Aquaphor. I use Aquaphor on my heels and the sides of my feet. Really just any area that's like harsher, thicker on the skin, just to be like an occlusive and extra moisture barrier. And I do put socks on in the evening. I'm not the biggest fan of wearing socks, especially inside my house, but it is very good for keeping that moisture retained and kind of allowing your feet to really soak everything in. I will just take them off before I go to bed and fall asleep. In the morning when I wake up the next day, my feet are still pretty soft, still pretty hydrated and moisturized. And I do get asked quite often, no, I don't reapply anything in the daytime. I don't wash my feet off either. I will just go about my day once I shower, clean my feet, and then do the routine again in the evening. Pedicures are also very important. I do share my pedicure soaks quite often. I do pedicures every 3 weeks to soak my feet, kind of give them a detox, and go into my actual nail beds, get all of the excess cuticle off, any buildup off, clean off my nails, cut them down. It's also really important to keep pretty trimmed and short nails during the summertime. This will prevent any dirt or bacteria from building up underneath. And of course that can lead to odor and a number of other things once sweat and heat is involved. I feel like this is really crucial to, of course, keeping your feet healthy, clean, and detox, but also for the appearance. Having a clean and fresh pedicure does wonders for the appearance of your feet. It's the same thing as having a manicure on your hands. And of course, this is especially important in the summertime when we're in more sandals, more heels, our feet are more out and exposed. Now that's everything regarding section 7. Let's go to section 8 and talk about knowing your pulse points. Now, knowing your pulse points is important for 2 reasons. Obviously, one, the main reasoning, which is for fragrancing. Knowing your pulse points and knowing where to apply your fragrance is very important at having a better longevity and smelling your best, but it's also very important for knowing how to properly cool the skin's temperature, whether that is just pertaining to your general sensation in your skin if you're feeling really hot, or if you're dealing with any skin conditions, any inflammation or irritation in the skin. It's important to know how to effectively cool down the temperature of the skin. And this can be done with aloe or balms that contain menthol. This is great if your skin is really inflamed, if you're dealing with sun inflammation, or if you're dealing with irritation in the skin from really anything else and you want to cool down the temperature to kind of manage and neutralize that inflammation or irritation. Your pulse points are back here, like behind your ears, behind your knees, this area right here, your wrist. When it comes to fragrancing, I wouldn't count these areas as pulse points, but I think these areas are important. The area right in the center of your chest, your shoulders, and the area right here between your shoulders and your neck area. Those are all really important areas for applying your fragrance. Also, this one isn't spoken about as often, but your ankles, also very important. Knowing your pulse points regarding fragrance is really important because heat does amplify scent and fragrance. So once those areas do warm, whether it's from you being active or from walking around or from you being in actual heat, your body will be able to constantly expel those fragrances instead of you putting something on and smelling like really harsh at once and then everything just fading away and evaporating. It'll help you kind of have a more subtle, consistent fragrance throughout the day. The way that I go about doing this, of course, like I mentioned, that'll help with the longevity by helping your skin constantly expel it, but at a certain time, that mist, whether you use a perfume, a body spray, a body oil, it will evaporate in time or rub off, especially very like high alcohol options. So what I do to make sure that I'm avoiding that from happening is I use a balm. I used a Vaseline balm in the past. When I went to restock, didn't have any, so I grabbed an Aquaphor balm, but it's working just the same. And I will apply this onto all of my pulse points and then shimmer perfume, because this is gonna take so much longer to evaporate than just the mist or perfume, since it is like a thinner consistency. It's mostly alcohol that will kind of evaporate much faster than a balm like this would. So I do apply this first and then my perfume on top. That's gonna help it last longer. It's gonna help it stick to the skin. And when your pulse points do warm, not only is the, again, alcohol-based liquid being warmed, but it is a balm and occlusive being warmed, which is much heavier and much stronger than just the perfume itself. So again, in the summary, the main points to know is behind your ears, this area right here, your shoulders, the area in the center of your chest, your inner elbow, wrist, behind the knees, and your ankles. Now, enough about prevention, treatment, things like that. Let's go to section 9 and talk about controlling sweaty skin. So when controlling sweaty skin, before getting into anything, the main point here, antibacterial soap and powders are gonna be your best friend. Starting off first with powders. Now, personally, because I never struggled with sweaty skin, I haven't really dove too deep into dusting powders, but I did decide recently that I am going to make my own and start using dusting powder. Growing up, my grandma did use talco, like baby powder, pretty much every day, and she taught us to use that. So in growing up as like a child, because of my grandma, I would use baby powder on my skin after showering, but once I grew up, I just stopped doing it altogether. And we didn't really use that in my house, so I wasn't really consistently using baby powder, and at a certain point I kind of just stopped, and I never needed it, so I never returned back to it. But now I do want to see if it can really make any improvement. If it's like one of those things that I don't think I need, but once I start using it, it makes a huge difference. The same as how the Milky Essence was with me. I didn't think I needed it. I grabbed it out of curiosity, and it's made such a difference in my skin. So this one, I'm not speaking too much from experience. I'm speaking more so from research. But from what I've gathered here, for controlling sweaty skin, high quality body powders, specifically ones that are talc free, are going to be really good at absorbing any excess moisture in your high friction areas, whether that's your underarms, your inner thighs, behind the knees, wherever you experience a lot of friction and a lot of sweat, since again this is mostly for sweaty skin. And one place that I kind of was pretty intrigued that made me kind of want to try this more is under your chest area. I never thought about that being a solution, so definitely if you're struggling with excess sweat in these areas, definitely start incorporating a talc-free powder. Like I mentioned, I do plan to start using these, and I am gonna make my own, so definitely stay tuned for that whole video and process. Then, as I mentioned earlier, also antibacterial soap is amazing for super sweaty skin. These antibacterial soaps are going to eat up all that excess oil and bacteria and of course sweat on the skin. I think a really easy way to describe this is that it just eats up everything. Like, it just completely dries out everything. That's obviously not exactly what it does, but in essence is a really easy way to connect that to its function. Just think of it as a soap that's gonna dry out and eat up everything that your skin doesn't need. With having sweaty skin, that's obviously like a must. Then of course, with sweaty skin, you want to keep the surface and pores in your skin clean and clear. You really want to avoid that sweat sitting, causing body acne or odor. So two other very important products to have within your routines are going to be salicylic acid. A salicylic acid spray is key. Let's say you have really sweaty skin, you just worked out, finished your workout, but you can't get into a shower super soon. Spraying this onto those areas will eat up that sweat, kind of refine the pores, clear out the pores, so you're not too worried. Granted, of course, you still need to shower and get the sweat off of your skin, but this is going to be a really good medium to kind of hold off on that sweat settling in and your pores kind of getting built up with that sweat residue. Another super crucial and important product to have is hypochlorous acid. Honestly, this is for all skin types. I have used this one in the past, but I did run out this morning, so I'm using this one by Honeydew Labs. I also have one by Tower 28. Hypochlorous acid is also very good at eating that excess oil, bacteria, and sweat. These are more so, I would say, effective for the face rather than the body. I would say the body, the salicylic acid spray, or just a salicylic acid spray will be much more ideal. But these are also very good. You're gonna want to avoid any sweat buildup or any sweat kind of lingering and sitting on the skin, so you're not prone to body acne or odor or just really oily, gross skin. And while on the topic of that, even though I feel like I've touched on it quite enough, I still want to go through the brief overview. Let's move on to our last section, section 10, and talk about fighting off sweat-induced acne. Now, because I feel like I've talked about this so much throughout the sections, I definitely feel like I touched every point that's necessary. So for here, I just wrote down a few bullet points to remember. And I did this mostly for this section because I feel like this is one of the most critical things during the summertime. And definitely one of those things that if you make the slightest mistake or leave the slightest gap or window for opportunity, there will be errors. It will have a negative impact in your skin. So let's just go through these bullet points really quickly. For point number 1, I wrote, acne can be built off of the bacteria left in the skin from allowing for sweat to remain on the surface for too long. It's important to know how to properly remove all sweat from your body and avoid any possible reaction. Again, that circles back to how you're cleansing your skin in the shower and maintaining products in your routine like the salicylic acid or hypochlorous acid to maintain the skin and keep it clean and clear from that buildup. For point number 2, I wrote, when dealing with body acne from surface bacteria, your sweat itself isn't the problem, but the bacteria that will come about when the sweat sits in the skin, whether it's just settling or mixed with your makeup or SPF. And I feel like this was one note I didn't really mention too much. Not only will the sweat on its own cause enough to the skin, but when you do have your sunscreen on, or if you do use any of those shimmers or body oils or even self-tan, any body makeup, once those chemicals mix with that sweat and sit in your pores, the buildup is 10,000 times worse, and the negative aspects that would come about are just amplified to 10,000 because not only is these bacteria from the sweat itself damaging the skin and it kind of settling into your pores, but so is the chemicals from those products that might not have even gotten into your pores if it wasn't for the liquid consistency of the sweat mixing with it and then settling in. For point number 3, I wrote, if you're not able to shower immediately, definitely use wipes, a damp cool towel, or the salicylic acid or hypochlorous acid sprays. I definitely mentioned already the sprays. In times that you don't have those, keeping a towel with you to kind of clean off the skin is also effective. You're kind of just getting off the surface level sweat. Whatever's in your pore is still sitting in there and settling for however long it takes for you to shower. So it's not going to really be as effective and as much of an advantage as using one of those acid sprays, but it's still a good way to minimize any reaction from the sweat on the skin, since you're kind of like bringing down the amount of sweat that will be able to build up. For point number 4, I wrote, if you're prone to body acne, avoid any synthetic or tight fabrics that would lock sweat against the skin for extended periods of time. This goes back to the point I was making earlier about when you're working out or if you're outside in really tight clothing. That is already kind of negative on its own, but if you do have very sweaty skin and you are acne prone, that tight clothing is only holding that sweat and that bacteria onto the skin, and if anything, pushing it more into the pores. If there was a possibility for it to evaporate, there is no room for it to do so because it's kind of being trapped in by your clothing. And for the last point number 5, I wrote, after removing sweat, follow up with the light misting of your glycolic acid toner or soothing aloe spray to rebalance the skin. And this definitely is more so for anyone that has really acne prone or really sweaty or really oily skin. For example, I don't deal with oily skin, but I am fairly acne prone on my chest area. And whenever I do work out and I sweat in this area is more exposed to sweat running down from my face or my neck. Once I get out of the shower and I clean that off, I make sure that those 2 to 3 times a week that I'm using glycolic acid, I'm spraying it onto my chest to refine the texture. The days I'm using my salicylic acid spray, I'm using that as well to clear out the pores. When I spray my face with hypochlorous acid, I'm also spraying my chest. I'm constantly keeping those areas that are acne prone clean and clear. If you deal with more so irritation and bumps from it, aloe, as mentioned earlier, is really good for soothing the skin and bringing down that temperature, which is key to avoiding or minimizing any inflammation or any irritation on the skin. And that's everything for this section. And girls, that wraps up everything for this video. We've gone through all the sections. I feel like I've touched base on all of the important hygienic things to know. I do think I want to do a part 2 to this, focusing more so on the appearance and aesthetics of the skin. Definitely let me know if you want that to be one of the following episodes. But I think in regards to the general hygiene, cleanliness, and well-being of the skin, we've touched everything. Of course, let me know if you want me to expand on any of the points. If you have any further questions, want any further advice, definitely go ahead and comment them down below. If you don't want to leave a public comment, I do have all of my direct messaging open on every platform. It may take me some time, but I do respond to every message and I try my best to get to every single comment. So never hesitate reaching out. I also have seen this community is also very helpful. Half the time, if I don't get to your comment on time, someone else will, and their tips will be just as great as mine, sometimes better. So never hesitate speaking up, whether you're asking a question, wanting advice, or sharing your own tips. Same with this video. If you do have any other tips to expand on or anything to mention, definitely leave it down below in the comments. And of course, same goes for all of my short form content and platforms. I love hearing from you all. And if you're not part of the communities over there yet, I am Jemima Zonia on every single platform. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video or you gained something from it, definitely go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you do want to be part of this community and see more videos like this and watch the rest of this series, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Again, as I mentioned, I am Jemima Zonia everywhere. I do post on my short form platforms every single day. And I also do have a board on TikTok and group chats open where you can be much more interactive. I do lots of polls and definitely let you all have an impact and play an influence on the content that I do post. I definitely do love fulfilling all of your requests when you guys are asking for advice or want routines or tips. And I've definitely enjoyed putting together and creating this series. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, definitely go ahead and do so. And if you are all caught up, definitely stay tuned for all the episodes to come. With this being episode 5, there are still 13 episodes left in this season. And if you are watching this on June 19th, tomorrow is the first day of summer for 2026. So stay tuned for the next 13 weeks full of tips, advice, routines, products, scent combos. I have so much planned to share with you all, so definitely be prepared. But again, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Definitely stay tuned for Hot Girl Hygiene episode 6. Bye.